welcome to the very latest of the podcasts for the Centre for Education Action Research. My name is Simon O'Connor, and I'm delighted this morning to be joined by Liz Wasserman. So, Liz, I suppose to start off with, would it be possible for you to just give us a brief introduction to yourself, what it is you do, where do you do it, and how it is we're talking to each other today?
Amazing. My more informal name is Becky Wasserman. I am the elementary art teacher at Universal American School. My qualifications include a BA Fine Arts degree and a PGCE. I've been teaching art for the past 13 years, this being my second year teaching elementary. So this has been quite a big shift in my career, as is ultimately the reason why I am curious about doing action research, because I have so much to learn in this new phase of my teaching career.
That's great, thank you. So you're part of the cohort of teachers that have joined the Centre for Education Action Research, and the premise upon which this is based is, I suppose, exactly as you've outlined, really, is that we all have things to learn, and I've always believed that all teachers are researchers. We're all looking to improve our practice. So what was it that particularly drove you to join CEAR to actually undertake this action research as you are doing at the moment?
In Carol Dweck's book, Mindset, she writes that great teachers believe in the growth of their intellect and talent, and that they are fascinated with the process of learning. As I'm finding myself in this new phase of my career, I feel, as I said, I have so much to learn. Although I've been teaching art for 11 years, high school, this is something that I am very much uncertain of in terms of the kids' developmental stages, their mindset approaches to life, the way that they take on projects, behaviorally, how they tackle things in the classroom, their social behavior, all of those things I'm very curious about, and I want to see through arts education and through a positive education approach where I can possibly learn more about myself as a teacher and how I can guide those kids to overcome those battles, especially like I said, the growth mindset approach. We have many students who are completely hidden, if that's the right word, they can kind of hide away in the class because they don't want to take on a specific project, and kind of looking at those students and how we can find them and kind of tie them in and join them, and just to open up that mindset that I feel that they are just struggling with at the moment. So ultimately, that's the reason why I am curious and excited to join this CEAR program.
Yeah, it sounds absolutely fascinating, especially, well, two things from what you've said. I mean, firstly, it's a very courageous move to go from secondary to high school teaching to elementary, which is a really big shift. But secondly, in the context of art in particular, I think those people that don't really understand the subject think it's something that you can either do or you can't do. There's this simple concept of some sort of fundamental talent that people either possess or don't possess. And actually, I suppose what you're saying is that you're actually busting that myth and saying that we're actually looking at the mindset that which enable people to do it. But similarly, I suspect art will be a subject where confidence is absolutely crucial if people are going to achieve their very best.
Absolutely. Just a couple of weeks ago, we had a couple of parents during our parent-teacher conference, and one of the moms asked, why don't we just do painting with our students? And I told the mom, that's not what we're doing here. we're guiding our students towards 21st century skills, seeing how they can become resilient, how we can really open up their mindsets to be critical thinkers, to be self-driven, and to be innovative and to be flexible. So it's not just about the outcome. It's not just about painting a beautiful flower painting that the parents can put on the fridge or whatever the case, but really to open up the mindset of these students where they can really be risk takers and just, like I said, innovative thinkers. And that ultimately is the goal. And that's what I was excited about coming in here teaching elementary, just seeing that's the reason why we don't have so many students who carry on with art in high school. I think there's a lot happening in this phase where they're at now with elementary, where they just kind of close off and block those critical and creative skills, where they feel, I'm not a good enough anyway, so why carry on? Or this is not a beautiful art piece. So focusing on this and hopefully reaching, not necessarily creating more artists, that's not what it's about, but creating students that are more resilient to opening up their creative mindset and just finding a sense of belonging and something that they could be good at as well, and just that overall achievement And
Yeah.
ultimately, 21st century skills and growth mindset. That's all what art is about. So I'm a full believer in exactly what we do here, especially with the elementary students, because I feel they are most vulnerable, more so than what high school students are. So I'm quite excited to work with and to learn more about that in the process.
And we'll come on to your research in a minute, but I mean, again, I think another theme that emerges from what you're saying, and it is so common, the situation, is that actually we need to educate the children, but also we need to educate the parents, because there are misconceptions that they've developed over time as well about actually what is that takes place in the school. Really interesting project. So tell me about your research, what it is you've been doing, how far you've got so far.
I have, so long-term speaking, what I'm hopeful to achieve, and sorry for jumping the gun here with your questions, I'm hopeful to have more smaller scale inclusion-based art sessions where we have students who are perhaps not noticed in the classroom, because the classroom, it's quite fast-paced as with any school. I see the students, so I teach all of elementary, that's about 600 students for 45 minutes once a week. So within that time, it is so incredibly fast-paced. Some students are just completely not they can almost hide away because the lesson is so fast paced, and they can kind of just fall away in the shadows. But to have an inclusion based program where we can have those specific students who are perhaps struggling behaviorally, the students that are perhaps not really contributing as well, or the students that really have a lack of self-esteem, to get those students involved and kind of to work on with them in a smaller scale, either one-on-one or within a small group, and then see how we can reach those students. So this ultimately would be the goal going forward. But currently, so what I've done so far is I've set together an ASA where I handpicked a couple of students. I had a look at their IEPs, and obviously because I know all the students, I could kind of pick out a few that I feel that could benefit from this. And I worked with them for 10 weeks during afternoon sessions during ASA after school. And we just had some great projects where we explored and we experimented with things that we would not necessarily do during our large classrooms as a whole. Just so to build relationships with them and to see where they're at, what they enjoy doing. They kind of guided some of the art projects. I had some students who would never contribute in the lesson, and during the ASA it was really just more successful with them. We could actually have a conversation, and I got some marks on paper, which was great for that. So I think long term that would be the ultimate goal. But during the action research part, what I've done so far, it's really just a small group based, working with 6 boys specifically for this.
So it's a pilot study, basically. You've been
Yes.
taking a smaller version to learn the lessons that come out of it. Sounds absolutely fascinating, really does, and be really intrigued to see what the end result is in terms of your research. What have you found most enjoyable, I suppose, about the action research element of it so far?
Enjoyable, I think, almost just to validate what we do and why I do what I do, and to read up on that a bit more, and just to come back to this is what we are doing. We are not just painting pretty pictures. This is like lifelong skills that we are embedding in these students. So I think that's something that I enjoyed most. And then of course just building these relationships with the students on a smaller scale, working with 600 students weekly. The connection that I can have with those students is just as much as I can humanly possible. But within a smaller group, it's lovely. So I really did enjoy that.
And what about the sort of wider contextual reading, the academic research side of it? Because I think that's a really important side that often sort of flies beneath the radar a little bit, that people don't necessarily see. Have you managed to get into some of those academic texts yet?
That's part of my challenge so far, but it's something that I am looking into. But I have felt that other schools in the UAE, this is not something that is so evident yet, but other schools abroad, schools and facilities that have similar programs, they have found that students who have been working with small art inclusion programs have helped, or this has helped them with aggression and self-esteem problems and self-doubt, anxiety and stress, and then overall emotional challenges that those students face. So that ultimately has been other people's findings, and I'm hopeful to find obviously similar in our context here at the school.
Yeah, because it can be quite tricky sometimes trying to sort of find that triangulation, especially when you're doing something which I would suggest is fairly cutting edge and fairly niche in terms of the research that you're doing. It's certainly not the mainstream. So yeah, really interesting in that respect. I mean, you've mentioned challenges. I've done a number of these conversations. That what you've just described has been mentioned before. Time is another one. What would you say are the particular challenges of engaging in this research? Because it's important to point out you didn't have to do this. Everyone that's doing it is a volunteer, and we've had, and I would give a huge credit to everyone that stayed with this, because it is difficult. We've had a number of people that didn't feel that they wanted to continue with it, so I'm really grateful that you are. So what would you say are the particular challenges, and how have you managed to overcome them whilst you've been working on this?
I think perhaps because I don't have the answer yet. I think as soon as I have the answer to the room or in the classroom and I feel, well, I've done this, then maybe I would stop. But because there's so much more that I still need to learn, there's so many challenges every single day, every single lesson. I'm like, I need to research this. How can I improve this? So that stone in my shoe is just constantly there. There are many stones in my shoes. So I think once I have all those answers, perhaps then I'll stop. But for now, I need to challenge myself constantly. And like I said before, with Dweck's quote, it's just to be the best that we can be at what we're at. So I'm hopeful to become the best in a couple of years when I have no more stones in my shoes.
Becky, I've got some bad news for you. As someone that's engaged in research for a little while, and unfortunately, every time that you think you've got rid of one stone in your shoe, another one pops up. But again, it's that absolute process of exactly what you've said, of refining what you've been doing, trying to be the best you can be. I remember once interviewing someone who said that he was determined that the last lesson he taught would be his best lesson because he wants to improve all the way through his career. And I think that's a really healthy and a really admirable mindset to have. But it's great fun as well. And I think the important thing as well is we are all learning lessons, but if we can all share the lessons that we've learned, it will save others the time to develop their own teaching as well. So if you were talking to someone who was thinking about doing this kind of thing, what would you say? If a teacher came to you and said, look, Becky, I've seen that you've been doing this research, is it something I should do? What would your advice be?
I would say absolutely yes. I think we're constantly searching for answers to kind of guide us in our own practice. And in searching and finding an answer, perhaps that steers you into something completely different. So I think just constantly reading up. I also come from a background where I taught at a government school, a local school, for 8 years, and we had teachers that just stagnated. They were happy with where they were at, and that is, what they've done 10 years ago was exactly the same that what they're currently doing. And I think that is something that is the most threatening thing to students. So to constantly read up on it, how can you better things? How can you change things? Listen to the students. There's always something that we can do slightly different so we can reach a greater audience of the students. So just kind of see what your niche is, what you need in the classroom, what the kids are looking for, and then kind of steer that in that direction.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think I have two reflections of what you just said. Firstly, I'd absolutely agree that we as teachers need to continually evolve what we're doing. You said when there's no more stones, then you'll stop. But as we said, there probably will always be stones, but we do need to continually evolve. No one will ever teach the perfect lesson or the perfect program of lessons. So we need to evolve what we do. But to come back to your point about people that, and I think it's a very small part of the teaching population, but there are teachers out there who do the same thing every year. Not only do we need to evolve, but the students change. They grow up in different contexts, they grow up in different times. So what may have been suitable 3 or 4 years ago is unlikely to be suitable now. So that, I think, teaching is a constantly evolving practice, a constantly refining practice, secure in the knowledge that we'll never get it right in the sense of being perfect, but also secure in the knowledge that we can continually make it better. So yeah, that's been fascinating. Becky, thank you so much for your time today. I've really enjoyed talking to you. I'm absolutely fascinated by what you're doing. Just before we started recording this, I commented on how fabulous your background is and your classroom is. And it's quite clear that it's not just the visual display of what you do, but also the passion that you have for your teaching. So thank you ever so much. It's been wonderful to hear of this. And I'm very looking forward to coming to see your classroom soon, but also to hear how you got on in this research. So thank you ever so much, and I hope you have a great day.
Thank you so much for having me, Simon. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.